Lovely. So you are very welcome to the second podcast that we have here. It is the IGC's Tour Conversations with Guidance Counselors. My name is Catríona Rodgers and I am the host, and I am delighted to be joined today by Gerry Reilly. Gerry, would you like to give us a little introduction to yourself?
Thanks very much, Catríona. I'm delighted to be part of episode 2 of this great initiative from the IGC. So my name is Gerry Reilly. I'm a teacher for the last 34 years. I began my career teaching history and religion. Early on in my career, I decided to do an MA in human development. I then got into IT, and I was teaching IT for 20 years along with history. I then trained as a psychotherapist. I then did an MEd. I did the guidance training, and then I did a diploma in supervision. So, I've always been really interested in learning new things right throughout my career. And so when AI came along, I felt I really needed to get into this to see how can I make best use of this in my practice.
Brilliant, Gerry. And you've just really touched on what the topic of our second podcast is, and it is on AI. And I'm delighted for you to share your experience with us today. So, what are the three tools that we're going to be looking at?
Well, we're going to be looking at ChatGPT. We're going to be looking at Gamma.App and NotebookLM.
Okay, so these are three resources that you would use in your practice as a guidance counselor.
Yeah, I would use ChatGPT almost every day. I would use Gamma.App a couple of times a week. And I love playing around with NotebookLM. So I do that good. But I'm always, when new things come along, I'm always hit by that quote from Douglas Adams from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Anything that exists when you're born is considered normal and just a natural part of the world. Anything invented between your ages 15 and 35 is new, exciting, and revolutionary. You might even build a career around it. And anything invented after age 35 is often viewed as contrary to the natural order of things. So I think by embracing AI, we can change Douglas Adams' view of things.
I love it, Gerry. It's very good. So tell us, why is it important and that we embrace AI and that we integrate it into our guidance counselling practice?
Well, as people listen to this podcast know, the career and educational landscape, it's more complex than ever, and students are facing overwhelming choices about subjects, about higher education, about apprenticeships, and about jobs. In fact, the choices are so great that sometimes they even become paralyzed in thinking about what they want to do. So guidance counselors can often feel then like they're juggling too many hats. They're a teacher, they're a guidance counselor, they're personal support, they're a career coach, fortune teller. And tools like ChatGPT, Gamma.App, NotebookLM help by streamlining the workload and letting guidance counselors focus on what they do best, guidance students. And as the saying goes, it's from Alan Kay, you don't need to predict the future if you can build it. And these AI tools, they help students do just that.
I love what you're saying there. I think many of our members listening might actually agree with you there. Sometimes so many choices, it can be overwhelming and it can actually paralyze. So yeah, it's a good point. Well observed there. So the three tools that we're looking at: ChatGPT, Gamma app, and Notebook.lm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So ChatGPT, it's your all-knowing conversational sidekick for answering queries, simulating discussions with professionals, and providing tailored advice. Gamma.App is like a PowerPoint on steroids. It's designed for creating visually engaging, interactive presentations. And NotebookLM, if you think about that as your digital filing cabinet, but one that doesn't get dusty or refuse to close properly. And maybe I'll just talk about the cost of some of these. Just NotebookLM is free, Gamma.App is free, ChatGPT up to version 3 is free. If you want the latest version of ChatGPT, it's €20 a month charge. It's €20 a month that you could be spending worse.
Yeah. So two of them are free. There is a version of ChatGPT that's completely free, and then it's €20 a month for the mobile and for the online access.
Yeah,
Not online, what's it?
yeah,
Desktop.
the desktop and the mobile app in ChatGPT, it's the same account that you're accessing really. And the difference is that the information on ChatGPT 3.0, 4.0 only goes up to 2022, while 4.0, the latest version, is free.
Yeah, and I hear there's a new ChatGPT 5 on the way.
€20. Yeah, yeah. It's, you see, and that's the thing with these, like I've given a couple of workshops on this, and within, I don't know how many iterations of the workshop I would have to create. So I usually leave it to the last minute because the landscape is always changing. And the worst version of the app that's available is the one that you're using today, because tomorrow is going to be better.
So then how can guidance counselors use ChatGPT in their sessions?
Well, I use it in a number of ways, Catríona. I use it to simulate conversations with professionals in fields that the students are curious about. For example, ChatGPT can role play as a civil engineer or even as a zookeeper if needed. It can break down complex career advice into plain language, or even translate it into another language for students with limited English proficiency, whether that's Ukraine, Chinese, whatever language.
How does it do that?
So it's like having a personal translator. The model is it's a language model, so it's based on all the various languages that it has access to.
Wow.
Yeah, it's super. So another thing I use it for as well, and I'll speak a little more about that in a minute. It's about fine tuning UCAS personal statements. So in my school, we could have over 30 lads applying to Northern Ireland, and some personal statements. It usually takes a student about 3 drafts to get the personal statement right, and some students, no matter how many drafts they do, it just doesn't hit it. So I had a lovely one the other day. It was a real personal, warm personal statement, but it was light on content and the skills that they like to see in it. So I had the student with me. I put his UCAS personal statement into ChatGPT, and I asked it to critically evaluate it and to make suggestions. I gave him the suggestions. He went off then and he fine-tuned the personal statement. So like at this time of the year, and I'm sure everybody's feeling it. You're tired. You're coming into school. It's dreary, and yet you have these deadlines to meet. And ChatGPT can help you with that administrative part of, let's say, UCAS or whatever it might be.
And what I really like about that is it's the students' own original work. So you'd hope then that what they get back from ChatGPT is just polishing it, like it's just fine tuning it for them.
Exactly,
Yeah,
Catríona. And it keeps the personal bit of the personal statement. So it's not a plagiarized statement.
yeah.
You know.
And Gerry, not to put you on the spot, but I am putting you on the spot. Can you give an example of how you might use it to translate a session between yourself and a student or yourself and a client?
Yeah, sure. I'll give 2 examples, Catríona. In fact, I'll give one if I'm offering personal support to a student who maybe is feeling a bit homesick and they're from Spain and they're here for a year. Okay, so I use the mobile version of ChatGPT for that. So I am a guidance counsellor in a second level school in Ireland, and I'm offering personal support to a student who is from Spain and has limited English. When you hear English translate to Spanish, when you hear Spanish translate to English, do you understand?
Yes, I understand. I'll translate between English and Spanish for you and your student.
Hello, Carlos. You're very welcome to this support session today.
Hola, Carlos. Eres muy bienvenido a esta sesión de apoyo hoy.
Carlos, how are you feeling today?
Carlos, ¿cómo te sientes hoy?
Oh, me siento triste y solo todos los días.
He says he's feeling sad and alone every day.
Okay, so that's just one example, and it's very brief, but you can do that for any. We have a number of Ukrainian students
Yeah.
here.
That's fantastic, Gerry. So that's the mobile version that costs
Yeah,
20 a month.
and just one last point of that. The reason I prefer that over like Google Translate is that I'm able to maintain eye contact with them, and we don't have to be looking down at the phone. I just leave the phone on the table between us and we speak.
Yeah, because we do need to be mindful that we don't take away from the human connection and the
Yeah,
relationship with the use of
absolutely.
technology.
Yeah.
And was there a second example you were going to give us?
Yeah, Katrina, the second example is a career-related one. So, for example, I can ask the AI to simulate being a civil engineer. So I'm going to do that just now. I want you to simulate the being a civil engineer. And I want you to give my student information about the kind of work that you do and what kind of courses might lead into a civil engineering career that exist within 100 kilometers of Monaghan.
As a civil engineer, my work involves designing and overseeing construction projects like roads, bridges, and buildings. To become a civil engineer, students typically pursue a degree in civil engineering or a related field. Within 100 kilometers of Monaghan, students might consider programs at Dundalk Institute of Technology, Queen's University Belfast, or Ulster University. Each program usually requires good grades in mathematics and science subjects for entry.
That's very useful information. Do you have the specific entry requirements for Dundalk Institute of Technology?
For Dundalk Institute of Technology's civil engineering program, students typically need to have completed secondary education with good grades in mathematics and a science subject, such as physics. They may also require an interview or portfolio for some courses. Specific requirements can vary, so it's best to check their website or contact the admissions office directly.
So that's a really important piece there, because ChatGPT can sometimes make up things. And it can tell you, that this might be the entry requirement, or this might be a factual piece of information. So it's really important with any of these AI models that you fact check.
Mhm. And why do you think that type of simulation, like how is that helpful? What's the benefits
Well,
of that?
but see, sometimes a student might like the idea of civil engineering. They might say, "Oh, it's about planning towns or roads or building bridges," but it helps them. They can then have a dialogue with the AI model about that. So it can deepen their understanding of it, but it also adds a real human touch, rather than me having to go and find a civil engineer and bring them in here to the school.
I say it's very time saving as well, like not having to
Yeah,
arrange
yeah.
someone to come in. Yeah, no, there's lots of advantages there I can see. Look, we might look at the second resource. So the second resource is Gamma.App. Now you're going to have to start at the beginning for this one for me, Gerry, because I haven't got a clue of it. So what is it?
So Gamma.App is like, it's as if PowerPoint went to university, and it did a degree in design, and it learned how to be interactive. It lets guidance counselors create presentations that don't just look good, but also make career exploration engaging and visual. If you think career pathways with infographics, interactive decision trees, and resources that actually keep students awake and interested.
They don't go to sleep. And can you give an example of a resource that you've used with Gamma.App?
Yeah, so last week I had a couple of questions from students in my class about again engineering in Queen's and Ulster University. So I had a lot of stuff on, and I just so I got onto Gamma.App, and I put the prompt in, which was, I want you to research engineering degrees in Ulster University and Queen's University, and create a table for me comparing their entry requirements and their course content. Right, and so it went off then and created 10 slides on the question that I've asked. I then fact checked it, made sure it was correct, and I sent it out to the students.
Wow.
30 seconds.
Well, how long did the proofreading take though? Like
The proofreading, well, it is usually fairly accurate. I've only come across made up stuff a small number of times. So the proofreading only took another few minutes.
Okay.
So it's really, really useful for that. And another example might be, you might have a student who, is trying to decide between university and an apprenticeship. And so you could use Gamma.App to create, side-by-side comparison of costs, time commitments, career outcomes. You could even ask Gamma.App to create a slideshow on the top 5 apprenticeships in technology or any area. So it makes sort of the exploration more of an adventure.
And I was just going to ask Gerry, will it do it in different languages for you? Because I can see how this could be a really good tool to remove any barriers there.
Okay, what I would do, I haven't explored that, to be honest, Catríona, but what I would do there is I would take the PowerPoint that Gamma.App creates, and I'd put it into ChatGPT, and I'd ask ChatGPT to translate it. Now, maybe Gamma.App can do it. I haven't tried that, and certainly now I'm already making a note of that. As soon as we're finished here, that's what I'll be at.
And ChatGPT will give you stuff in different languages, and anyway,
yes, yeah. So I'm teaching first year history at the moment, and I haven't taught first year history since 2005, and I'm back in it this year. So this is anyway. We'll not go into that part of it. But I have 2 students who have limited English, and they speak Bulgarian. So I put the history exam into ChatGPT, and I asked it to translate it into Bulgarian. And I asked the 2 of them to come in and look at it just to make sure it was accurate, and they were very happy with it. So ChatGPT, it can help you with your differentiation in class. You can put a passage in and ask it to, let's say the reading age in your class, let's say it's a low enough reading age, you can ask it to change the language of it to a reading age of 10 or a reading age of 7. You can ask it to explain this concept to me as if I'm a 7-year-old. It's
so
super.
It's good for differentiation as well in your classroom.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
And I've mentioned them a few times there, but the prompts are really the important piece in this. And learning how to refine your prompts and make your prompts as accurate as possible, and given the generative AI the information it needs. So sometimes I put a prompt in and I get information back, and then I'm saying just not quite what I was looking for, and I refine the prompt, and I learn from that for myself for the next time.
Yeah, I think that takes a while to get the prompts.
Yeah.
So just the third resource that we're going to focus in on is the NotebookLM.
Yeah, I love NotebookLM. I only came across this in the last 2 months. So NotebookLM is like your organizational buddy. Think of it as a digital version of career folders that we used to keep with students' name on them, and with their interests and all that. But this is much smarter. So using NotebookLM, you can create a notebook for each student, add them in as a collaborator on it. Then, you can have a section where they put in their results of an interest infantry test. They can put in college courses that they're thinking of. They can put in the subjects that they're studying. They can put in their Cat 4 results. And NotebookLM will keep the whole thing together, plus any sort of dialogue or interaction between each of those pieces. So that can be really useful, and the student can use that to keep their record up to date, and it's a really, really good resource for them when they come to writing their UCAS personal statement, because they have everything right there in front of them.
So let me check my understanding here. So it's like a shared notebook. You set it up, and then you add a student as a collaborator.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about it is that then you can ask questions. You can ask questions, and the AI will go off and research, the answer based on the information that's in the top part in the folders up there.
And do you have any sort of example that really illustrates how that might be useful or helpful in the guidance?
So I am working with a student who is interested in teaching, and he created the sections that were needed, and then we went into using the AI then to source courses based on what he said, but also within certain distances of. So it's a more powerful version of, let's say, the simulation from ChatGPT that I spoke about, because it has all the students' personal information in it.
Okay. Okay.
And another super part of NotebookLM is that you can upload a PDF into it, and it'll analyze the PDF and give you talking points about it or the key points in it. So, for example, the Beacon Alta, the new anti-bullying process. There was a video released last week by the department, and part of it was on the new inspection model that's going to be used for well-being. So I watched the video. I then uploaded it into NotebookLM, and I asked it to create summary points on this. So I got those summary points, and then I shared them with the well-being team. And they all thought I'd done marvelous work. So I then took that piece of information and put it into ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT, what kind of action plan might you suggest based on the above? So
Gerry. So just hang on a second. You had a video from Beacon Alta, the guidelines for inspection of well-being. You uploaded the video into
NotebookLM.
NotebookLM. It gave you a summary of the video.
Yeah.
And then you uploaded the summary of the video into ChatGPT and got an action plan.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
How long did all that take?
No more than 10 minutes, I'd say.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. And was the action plan, like when you got the action plan, was it a workable document, a good base?
Absolutely super.
Okay.
I could have gone to it this morning, to the principal. I could have gone to the principal this morning with him and said, look, this is what we're going to do. Now, I'm not going to go anytime soon, but when we come back in January, I'll probably present it to him that I've spent weeks over the Christmas working on this.
I love it. Okay. So I presume then you can put any video and you can get a summary of a document. So rather than giving up an hour watching something, you can get a summary document.
As long as there's a transcript with the video, And another wonderful thing about ChatGPT is that so I got our school's the most recent inspection report on guidance. And you can put it into NotebookLM, and click generate, and it'll create a podcast based on the information in the PDF. So it'll simulate a conversation like we're having now, somebody asking questions, somebody offering clarification, but also it'll be critical about it as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So
create a podcast so you can listen to it rather than having to read it.
Yeah, so you're out walking and you want to listen to, how the last inspection report went and what do I need to do in preparation for the next one.
Okay, so that's NotebookLM. You've kind of already touched on it, but really, if you were to integrate these three tools together, like what would you be recommending here?
Yeah, so first of all, if we look at each of them for a minute and say, ChatGPT, it'll handle questions and conversations. NotebookLM will present career pathways and comparisons, and it'll make them come to life. And NotebookLM will keep the whole thing organized so you don't lose track of students' goals. So together, the three of them can help you work smarter and not harder.
Fantastic. And then just maybe as a final point, Gerry, what tips and suggestions would you give to somebody who's very new to this?
The first thing I'd say to someone who's very new to all this, play with it. Sit down and ask it stuff. Like, when I look back, now I have hundreds of ChatGPTs created at this stage, but when I look back at the earlier ones, it was me just learning about the how to use it. So for example, I teach Leaving Cert history, so I might put in, what paragraph points would I need to answer an essay on the economy 1922 to 1932 in Ireland, and it'll give me like 8 paragraph points. So I can use it for structuring information. I can use it for it to present information to me. So the key thing is to play with it. And sometimes I put something into it. I come across something, maybe I heard something on the TV or read something, and I say to the ChatGPT, explain this to me as if I'm 7.
Yeah. So get comfortable with it, play with it. I think I heard you mention about proofing it. That was important.
Absolutely. Proofing it is really, really important. You don't want to be caught being unprofessional or providing, sloppy information. Really important that you spend the time proofing each of the presentations that they provide.
And then your prompts as well. So you have 3 Ps there. Did you do that on purpose?
No, that's a really good one, Catríona. I'm going to make a note of that now, the 3 Ps.
That's fantastic, Gerry. Look, I really want to thank you for sharing your experience and your insight on this. I think it's a topic that's relevant to members, guidance counselors completely across the lifespan. I know you were talking through your lens mostly in second level, but I can see potential for an
Absolutely.
FET, and I'm sure it can help us, especially with anything to do with policy.
Yeah, but if you think about people who are working with adults in guidance, show them how to use the model and let them go off and feel that empowerment themselves.
Yeah, it can be guide them,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
empowering.
yeah.
So we're going to finish our podcast here. So that was our second podcast. Gerry, I want to thank you very much for your time.
Very
Gerry
welcome.
Reilly, National Secretary of the IGC. I want to thank our listeners today, and I would ask you to keep an eye out and continue to support us. Thank you very much.